So one of the things that amazes me, it continues to amaze me because we've had this conversation over and over. When I'm teaching a class, I'll typically ask, are you a member of some sort of an association or organization or coalition or something like that? And when we ask that question, normally 60 to 70 or more percent of appraisers aren't involved in anything. They don't participate in any sort of organization. In other words, when are you around 5 other appraisers, 10 other, 15 other appraisers? How often are you around that many appraisers? Once every year when I take my CE, that's about it. And so we encourage folks to get involved. Try to get involved. You can make a difference. Think about joining an association. Think about the networking opportunities, maybe the opportunities for work. And right now, some of you are kind of slow. So come on back, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to bring in a special guest to carry on the conversation. Hi, this is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. I'm glad you're here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe. And a special thought and prayer to all of our friends and family, loved ones, and appraisers in Florida. Actually, everyone in Florida. We hope you're doing okay. In the Carolinas, I know they got hit too. So our thoughts and prayers go out to you. By the way, if you are an appraiser in need or know of an appraiser in need, the National Association of Appraisers has established the Appraiser Relief Fund. That's been up and running for well over a year now. And it is designed to help appraisers and appraisers' family that's in need. So if you need a helping hand, please reach out to the National Association of Appraisers. That's exactly what that fund was created for. So I'm bringing on a good friend of mine, Mr. Jason Covington. If you don't mind, please introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, my friend.
Hey, good afternoon. Jason Covington from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a member of the National Appraisers Association and a member of the Tennessee Coalition of Appraisers.
Welcome, Jason. I'm glad you're here. And so you are a member of the National Association of Appraisers. You're actually a board member pro tem as well. You were appointed that position and just recently reappointed. So congratulations on that. And I just bumped into you out at the Appraisal Summit. And that's what I wanted to bring you on and talk to you about. If I've got some listeners right now that don't know what the Appraisal Summit is, why don't you just kind of fill them in? What is the Appraisal Summit? Where is it located, and how often does it happen?
Yeah, the Appraisal Summit is every year in Las Vegas, Nevada. I have attended the last couple of years. It's a summit, a conference for appraisers, geared to appraisers. It's a place where you can network and grow individually from the ground up. The summit offers everything from trainees that aren't even licensed or in the business yet, that are learning, growing, and wanting to learn more about the industry. The summit allows them specific time on their own to ask questions, to grow, to be mentored, and to be around seasoned veteran appraisers. So they get that mix and they have that opportunity to do that. Nowhere else that I can think of does anybody put on something geared so intensively for the trainees, even before they're even in the industry. So that's on one spectrum. And then you have the other spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, the veteran appraiser. I'm getting close to veteran, I guess, but I've been doing this for a little while, and it gives me, the older appraiser in the room, the opportunity to learn and ask questions as well. I've been mentored. I've been helped. I have grown my knowledge base by being around some of these other people that attend these conferences that have allowed me an open space, a comfortable place to ask hard questions, so I can be better. And that's the simple answer. So from anybody from a trainee or anybody that's been in the industry for a long time, it's a conference put on by appraisers for appraisers to learn, mentor, grow, and support each other. It's awesome.
Very well said. And to Jason's point, we really, I mean, just within the last couple of years, so we didn't even have a membership level for training. I mean, we did in a roundabout way. We had an affiliate membership category, right? But we didn't have a membership that was earmarked for the trainee appraiser or an aspiring appraiser, because some states don't have trainee appraisers. You know, there's not a category. But we felt it was very important to have a home for the trainee population of appraisers, right? So I created an ad hoc committee, and they did a great job and created this trainee membership level. And we like the name associate better, so we call it an associate member. It's only $50, and you're an associate member of the NAA. How cool is that? And yeah, a couple of years ago at the summit, we had, I call it Trainee Day for short, but it's a day for the trainee. That's what it's all about. We've done that now at the ACTS conference, which we'll talk about ACTS in just a little bit. But we just had another one at the Appraisal Summit in Las Vegas. And Jason, do you know just an estimate around about how many folks were in that session? I think there were close to 100, if I remember right. I think Pat Felvey was telling me there were near 100 folks.
In the trainee session, yes, I think it just tipped over 100.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. So, and I know there were trainees that came that weren't able to stay for the whole conference, sadly. We just heard a couple of them talking in Clubhouse. But they attended the trainee day and maybe some pre-conference education, and then they had to leave. So it's a great opportunity to network. And I was trying to have Kayla on, and we had some technical difficulties here. So Kayla, our administrator here at Reynolds and Associates, she handles onboarding new clients. She handles the Tennessee, and then I have Chloe here locally that handles the Kentucky division. But Kayla actually came to Las Vegas and attended as well. Now, she's not an appraiser. She's an administrator. And she had a great time, and she actually worked on my business while we were there. She went around to all the vendors, right, the folks that sponsored the event, and she introduced herself. If we were on their panel, she tried to further that relationship, put a face with a name. And those vendors that were not signed up, guess what? She's getting us signed up with them right now. So there's an opportunity to expand your business by going to a conference like this and getting involved. Now, Jason, I want my listeners to listen to what you're about to say. You don't know what I'm about to ask you, are you? Do you?
No.
Yeah. We don't have a script here, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a conversation with a video camera going. So Jason has no idea what I'm about to ask. But I tell you to listen, because I want to hear what he has to say to this question as well. I've been trying to pull Jason for a few years. I think it's fair to say a few years. Jason, you need to get involved. You need to get involved with this organization. And in all honesty, it took you a minute. It took you a minute to get involved. Initially, I heard Jason say what many of my listeners are probably thinking right now. Well, I'm just too busy, right? I got too much on my plate. I got too much going on. How's that going to benefit me as a working appraiser? I'll let somebody else do that and make all the decisions. I'll just sit back and complain about them. But it did take you a little while. I mean, I've been working on you for a few years, and finally you came, and I don't even remember, was it Axe the first one you came to? Bay St. Louis. Yeah. So you finally came to Bay St. Louis, and you didn't get that one. You didn't get there in time to do the deep sea fishing, but I think you did go deep sea fishing when we were in Charleston.
I had the opportunity, but didn't.
Oh, you didn't make that one either. Okay, right. Okay. But so to answer, the question is, what finally sparked you to say, okay, I'm going to get involved? And I don't even know if it was going to the conference. The conference probably solidified it, but what prompted you, number one, to take that first step and go to the first conference, the ACT conference you attended? And then secondly, what prompted you to say, okay, I'm going to join and I'm going to get involved and I'm really going to get involved? Answer those questions for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So backing up a little bit, you know, I've known you, Bryan, for quite some time, taking some courses and some continuing education, some USPAP stuff from you. And to be honest, I fell in love with Bryan's teaching and the way you deliver and the way you connect with me, the way you engaged me in wanting to learn and grow more. So that's kind of the foundation of, I guess, where you and I come from. And then over the years, yeah, you have been working on me. Hey, man, get involved. You need to get involved. You know, I think you would enjoy being involved. And you would explain, you know, what the conferences are like and what you do and what goes on there. And, of course, I listened and obviously would encourage you to go and wanted you to go and do those things. But I guess I just wasn't ready to commit. And what did commit mean? I guess it really meant putting my day-to-day, business down for a handful of days, getting an airplane ticket and going to the conference, going to the summit. Nothing specifically had changed in my life or in my career. I just got to a point to where I guess I was tired of talking about, hey, I want to do something more in the appraisal industry. How can I give back or be more involved? And I didn't know what all that looked like at the time. But taking your advice and listening to your invitation, I went to the first conference in Bay St. Louis and had a wonderful time. I didn't know what I was in for exactly. You explained it all, but you'd never know until you go. And so what you explained to me was all accurate and correct, but add a cherry on top and a lot of things that you can't interject that happened in the relationships I made and how I felt welcomed and how I felt part of a group bigger than me. I guess those are part of the things that I was looking for, to be involved in something. You want to be part of something bigger and more than just you as an individual. And I felt that when I got there. And I asked, I raised my hand, can I help? Is there anything I can do to help? Do y'all need help? I see everybody working and doing stuff. And yeah, everybody's enjoying the conference, but there's a handful of people, if you pay attention, that never stop moving. And I just asked some of those people, hey, man, can I help you? And if you ask that question, they'll probably let you help. So that once I asked that question and got involved and started helping more on things other than just being an attendee, it made me feel all those things, welcome, part of a group. And it allowed me to make connections faster and quicker, maybe otherwise than I would have. So, I attended that conference at Bay St. Louis. I went to the summit again that last year. Went to the conference, ACTS conference in Charleston, South Carolina, and then again attended the summit here this year in Vegas. And I've enjoyed every minute of it, from Bay St. Louis to, Jump Street there, from the next 4 conferences moving forward. I have been involved. I've understood more about what goes on behind the scenes. I've understood more of how I can interject and how I can be a part and a piece of this thing. So I'm just barely getting my feet wet, and I'm just barely getting involved, and I'm loving absolutely every bit of it.
Yeah. So, one of the things, and I think I really started hearing this a lot. I mean, I've always heard it, but I think I really started hearing it a lot in Bay St. Louis, that I had people coming up to me and say, I feel like this is a big family. This just seems like this seems like a family. And then I heard it again in Charleston. I just heard it at the summit. And it really, that warms your heart to think, hey, we're doing something right, right? Because people are not only enjoying this, they're beginning to feel like they're part of something. It's like a community, if you will, right? And there's always going to be somebody out there that's, Mr. or Mrs. Negativity. I mean, it's inevitable. And you've got that in every profession. But for the most part, these are a lot of positive, upbeat, optimistic individuals. And when you're plopped down in the middle of that, it rubs off on you. I mean, it really rubs off on you. And sometimes there's positive peer pressure, I guess you could call it. When people are doing things right, when people are doing things good, it makes you want to be part of that. So you mentioned ACTS. I mentioned ACTS. So let's tell my listeners what ACTS is. ACTS, ACTS, stands for the Appraisal Conference and Trade Show. And if my listeners aren't familiar with that, a little history on that. The NAA has been part of the summit for 14 years now, I believe. And it's always been in Las Vegas. And, it's been discussed many times and decided, well, there needs to be a conference in Las Vegas every year. And so we're maintaining that. And now the NAA owns the summit, which we're really excited about. It's solely owned by the National Association of Appraisers. They can't do it alone, so they've been gracious enough to include Appraiser eLearning as their co-host, right, as the entity that provides the education part of that. And just for a 1,000% transparency, anytime I'm involved with something and they bring up Appraiser eLearning, I recuse myself. I'm not involved in any vote that deals with Appraiser eLearning, just so my listeners know. And I'm not going to be president after April anyway. So all those decisions get shifted on to the next president, and the board as a whole. But we decided a few years ago, the NAA a few years ago, that if we're going to be the National Association of Appraisers, we probably ought to move around a little bit, because there are appraisers in certain areas of the country that probably just aren't ever going to make it out to Vegas. Let's just face that, right? They're just not going to be able to take that trip. And so we want to bring the conference to the appraisal profession, to the appraisal communities, right? And so we decided to have a spring conference called ACTS, Appraisal Conference and Trade Show, and move that one around. And so that one premiered in Nashville, Tennessee, and then it went out to Salt Lake City. It was in Utah. Then it was in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. And most recently, it was in Charleston, South Carolina. And now, where are we going now, Jason?
Colorado?
Nope, not yet. We will be going to Colorado.
But we're going to California.
We're going to California, baby. Yeah. So in April of 2023, the ACTS conference will be in Sacramento, California. It begins on April the 1st. That's no April Fools. I didn't pick the date. Don't blame me. But it'll be in Sacramento. And then where will we be, Jason? Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's right. The board just recently voted and decided to take it to Colorado. So 2023 will be in Sacramento, California. We hope to see you guys there. And then spring of 2024 will be in Colorado Springs. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, hey, come to me, I'd like for you to come to Indiana or Ohio. Okay, well, put your name in the pot. Reach out to Teresa over at the National Association of Appraisers and let us know that you'd like for us to come there. And there's a process to kind of put your name in the pot and bid for that opportunity to kind of be the host city. And we would encourage anybody that wants us there to let us know, because we'd love to come. Hey, Jason, finally, and I appreciate you being here today. I know you're a busy guy.
Can I add something?
You go right ahead. Yes, sir.
Before you shut her down, I just wanted to add to you. You kind of transitioned into the ACTS Appraisal Conference and Trade Show. And a little crossover between the conference, trade show, and the summit would be the vendors involved, the sponsors of those events. And let me tell you, If you're on the fence kind of about, going to the summit over and above some of those things we've already talked about, one of the things,
He
one of
he
the
he
things,
that Jason, how did you read my note? I just wrote myself a note.
well,
And it
if,
says on the fence about attending. That was going to be the last question I ask you. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you ought to play the lottery tonight, or go the boat or something. Anyway,
well,
go ahead. If one of my listeners or several of let me ask it now. Several of my listeners are kind of on the fence. Well, it sounds good, but it's probably expensive. I don't have the time. They're on the fence about attending. What would you say to them?
okay, two things. Okay, so the crossover between the trade show and the summit is you get the sponsors. You get those people that want to be there, that are in the background of our industry that we deal with and talk to all the time, but you get to put a face with the product. So maybe it's the tools you use to write your appraisal. Maybe it's the tools you use to import the data for your appraisals. Maybe it's the tools you use for your cost approach. Maybe it's the tools you use for fill in the blank. But those people are there and there's a face behind the product, and you get to meet those people and know who they are and know the reason behind their brand and why they do what they do. That's another amazing piece and part of this thing that you learn when you get there. If you take the time, effort, and energy to go by those booths, meet those people, engage and interact with them, you can learn a lot. And that's one thing that I really enjoy. So now, go ahead.
The thing is, there might be some listeners out there thinking, hey, man, my business is slowed down. The last thing I want to do is spend money because
You should.
I need some work right now. Well, guess what? You might have gotten 5 new clients if you attended the summit, right? Because I guarantee you there's at least 1 or 2 there that you're probably not currently doing work for. You could have went up and talked to these folks face to face and tried to establish a relationship. And maybe you'd had some orders waiting for you when you got back. Maybe not, but maybe. And so if you're, well, I'm too busy to go. Well, I'm so slow, I'm scared to go. No, embrace that time that you're a little slow and say, okay, now I have an opportunity that I can get away. I can spend a few days in Sacramento, California. I can meet with some of these folks and maybe add to my client list.
Yes.
That's what you should be thinking of, right? Adding to that client list, not just constantly being in a state of worry, right? Jason, if somebody wants to reach out to you, how's the best way to get in touch with you, my friend?
My best email is jason.covington13@gmail.com.
What's the 13 stand for?
When I created my Gmail, somebody took Jason Covington, so I had to come up with something.
But
That's
why
old.
13 instead of 12 or 11 or 7?
It was
It's
my
just-
my jersey, my football number back in the day.
Now we know it was your football jersey. All right, awesome. Well, I like number 13. One time, my brothers and I. So I'm there's 3 boys in my family, and I'm the youngest. I'm the baby. So my brother was always 13, right? Number 13. My other brother decided to be 23. And I thought, well, I'm 3 of 3, so I might as well be 33. So we all played on the same team for a while, adult softball, and it was 13, 23, and 33. So I like 13 as well. Mr. Jason Covington, thank you for stopping by and hanging out today. We'll have to have you on again real soon. Appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely. I enjoyed my time. Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at appraiserelearning.com. You'll be glad you did. Until next time, make lots of money. Take a little break. I'm going to go set up my deer stand, put my deer cams out tomorrow and some corn, and I'm way behind, but I'm going to get it done tomorrow. Until next time, I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds, for Mr. Jason Covington. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update Podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.